SiriusXM is opening new studios in Miami, Florida. Howard Stern lives in Florida, although he hates Republicans and he's all for COVID restrictions, yet he lives in a state where there is none and controlled by Republicans. But nevertheless, they will be getting him and Andy Cohen to do their shows there for about a week to open up the new studios. Gary Delabonte, Baba Booey, said on the wrap-up show that the staff have to pay for their own flights to go to Miami to do the show. So, SiriusXM is forcing them to pay for their own flights. And this is the thing Howard Stern could absolutely step in and say, of course you're going to pay for the flights of my staff. Although he won't. So it's essentially he's forcing them to fly down there. This just further proves that that offer they gave to Shuli, where we're going to cut your pay, cut your benefits, and less on air time. And Shuli just said no and left the company and now does YouTube. That deal was offered to everybody, and everybody else just signed that deal and have been working remotely. And they all had their pay cut. So that's why Gary Delabonte sold his nice house in Connecticut and moved somewhere. And they all do the show remote. But now that it's going to be in studio, they have to use their own money, which has been cut, to pay for rates. Whoa, that is messed up. And why is Sirius even opening studios in Miami? Is this some way to try and get Stern in studio permanently? Because like I said, he lives in Florida. So is this SiriusXM's way of saying, hey, we got studios now in that state. You're not that far from it. You need to start going in studio. Because obviously, there's we can tell the difference from when you're in your house doing the show, which, I mean, Howard Stern does his radio show from his house, which he always railed against. He said that would always be the death of a radio show. But, you know, Howard Stern has become Don Imus at this point. But now there will be studios right near him. I wonder if they force him to have to go into that studio more and more. And if they do, are they going to force his staff to have to pay for flights down there every time? Which is kind of messed up. So one would assume it's in the contract that he gets to do the shows remote. But I just was stunned when Gary said that on the wrap-up show that they had to pay for their own flights to get down there to do their job. And I would assume, I bet they all had to do that when he did it in New York. Remember, he showed up in studio in New York for that one day, and Jim and Sam complained because like they shut down all the hallways and stuff, and you couldn't walk anywhere because Howard Stern was coming in. I think he did 1 or 2 shows that week. I'm assuming they had to pay to do that, to fly to New York to do that, because I would assume their job is a lot there. If Howard Stern's in studio, I would assume they have to be in studio. Like, they could do the remote thing if he's doing the remote thing. But if Howard Stern is showing up, something tells, like, Baba Booey has to be there. And I think Baba Booey basically said, yeah, he is going. And they probably all are going to pay for their flights. But the fact, you know how much money this man is making? So they cut his budget, obviously, for him to sign another 5 years. I bet you he didn't get it. Well, he got a dip in money probably overall just because of the schedule. So he probably gets paid the same per show if you break it down that way, but he just does a lot fewer shows. But they obviously cut the budget and everything. I just don't see what their business model is going forward because nobody even listens to Howard Stern anymore. Like, seriously, no one listens to Howard Stern. They're cutting his budget. They tried going into this podcast lane, which didn't really work. Although they never went to any real big podcasters and threw up money. I mean, hell, they went to Rory and Maul. I mean, I like Rory and Maul, but they're not huge podcasters. Like, it seems like they would have to try and go make a play for like a Joe Rogan or maybe even like a Joe Budden or something and go down that way. But I don't think they have the competence level to do that at that company. I don't even know how that company is staying afloat. I know Opie said the second Howard Stern leaves, they're done, in which I think we all agree with that. But I would argue they're done now because whether he leaves or not, nobody listens to Howard Stern. So they're essentially done anyway. And I know how they give out their numbers. Their numbers are all fake. This was explained a while ago. When you buy a car, it comes with SiriusXM, and you get it free for like a month or 3 months, and then the service goes away. However, you will always have Hits One. That's channel 1 on SiriusXM, even if you don't pay for the service. They still count you as a subscriber. That's how they get the report. We have this many million people subscribers to SiriusXM. They don't, but they just count people who don't pay for SiriusXM but have the free Hits One in their car as a subscriber. Weird business model. I don't know, but I mean, the Howard Stern staff having to pay for their own flights. I must say, the studio does look nice, though. This is the studios right here. Nice building in Miami. I mean, apparently SiriusXM watches a lot of Fresh and Fit and figures Miami is the new location to get guests and stuff. I would assume so. Maybe this is all just for Andy Cohen because he does his reunion shows. I would assume they're all done in Miami or something. I don't know, but the fact that Jason Kaplan has to get up money and fly down there to do some shows, and they're just not like gonna pay for that. And I bet you like their justification is it's not technically mandatory when it's mandatory. If Howard Stern is showing up in the studio, his staff better be in the studio. The only one who's probably not going to be is Robin. But I bet you like Fred will be there and stuff. But crazy. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.